When I purchased shares in Cable Bahamas was offering a service that I appreciated. And I thought, seeing that it was something new on the block, it was interested enough for me to be a part of it. They have a chance to be the number one, particularly in mobile field. You have already earned the right to be the next provider. You've earned that from Joe Public, from the Bahamian people.
The Bahamas Supreme Court rejects Baha Mar's United States bankruptcy orders. The Deputy Prime Minister commissions his own report into urban renewal. The Bahamas Electricity Corporation signs a transitional agreement with Power Secure, plus a minimum wage to increase next month. We've got those stories and more coming up tonight. I'm Dana Smith, and NB12 starts right now. Top news tonight, Baha Mar has lost its bid to have its United States Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection orders acknowledged in the Bahamas. Supreme Court Justice Ian Winder refused Baha Mar's application this morning and also refused alternative relief sought by the resort. Kyle Joaquin reports.
It took Justice Winder less than 5 minutes to deliver his decision. After hearing from both the applicant and the respondents, he decided to dismiss Bahamas' application to have their bankruptcy filing in the U.S. court recognized by the Bahamas' Supreme Court. Application dismissed. Supreme Court Justice Ian Winder this morning rejected Baha Mar's application seeking approval for recognition of Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the Bahamas. The resort sought to have the same protection from creditors in the U.S. applied in the Bahamas. However, 2 days after hearing from the applicants and respondents, Justice Winder, in a ruling which took less than 5 minutes, dismissed orders recognizing the insolvency proceedings now underway in respect of each of the applicants in the bankruptcy court for the District of Delaware. The reasons, Winder said, will be released in writing in 2 weeks. In its application, Baha Mar also sought the court's assistance by extending to and giving effect within the Commonwealth of the Bahamas until further order the automatic stays arising in those proceedings pursuant to Section 362 of the United States Bankruptcy Code. So, what does this all mean? Baha Mar has no protection from local creditors. There is an extensive list with the top 20 creditors alone owed more than $120 million. Baha Mar reportedly owes government some $58 million. Justice Winder also rejected any alternative Baha Mar was seeking, one of which was staying all proceedings and barring the commencement of any new proceedings by or against the applicants of the Bahamas under the inherent jurisdiction of the court or alternatively pursuant to the Companies Winding Up Amendment Act 2011. Attorney for China Exim Bank Brian Sims, who stressed on Monday that the judge should make a decision now and give reasons later, today expressed satisfaction at the ruling.
We obviously think that the decision is correct. And the judge will give his reasons shortly, and I think that's the time for comment.
Now, because they lost, Baha Mar now also has to foot the reasonable cost of legal fees for all the respondents, an additional financial burden that could get quite costly. Outside of court, Baha Mar's attorneys appeared distraught at the decision, but did not say whether their next move would be to appeal. In a statement released shortly after the ruling, Baha Mar said it respects Justice Winder's ruling and looks forward to understanding his reasoning, but are nonetheless disappointed. It continued, "We are even more disappointed in the way the government has responded to our Chapter 11 filing over the past several weeks. We hope the government will stand by its word to be an impartial mediator in our efforts to protect our investment and bring the project to completion." Baha Mar says it doesn't believe today's ruling, for which the government strenuously argued assures the necessary protection of the assets of Baha Mar. Neither does it believe that the ruling was best for the over 2,500 current employees of the resort. The ordeal has no doubt been a nasty one since Baha Mar made the bankruptcy filing in Delaware 2 weeks ago. There have been times when Baha Mar's developer clashed with both the contractor, CCA Bahamas, as well as the Bahamian government. But while negotiations continue between CCA Bahamas and Baha Mar, the resort says the stay granted in the U.S. Bankruptcy Court of Delaware remains in effect. Responding to CCA's motion to dismiss the Chapter 11 proceedings, Baha Mar says it will continue to do everything it can through direct discussions with relevant stakeholders to ensure the survival of Baha Mar. There is no word from Baha Mar as yet on how exactly this ruling affects employees. The winding up petition set for hearing on July 31st has already been dubbed by government as a precautionary measure. One of Baha Mar's attorneys says while they were disappointed by the ruling, they're now just focused on continuing negotiations to have the resort completed and opened. Reporting from the Supreme Court for NB12, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Government is proposing that 3 professionals from PricewaterhouseCoopers be appointed provisional liquidators for Baha Mar. If approved by the court, Prince Ramin, Gowan Bowe, and Garth Kalo would oversee the affairs of the troubled resort project. The revelation was made in an affidavit of Director of Legal Affairs Antoinette Bonamy, but there are still some with very little understanding as to what liquidation means for a company. Simone Morgan Gomez, a partner at Calendars & Co., says there are many misconceptions, and topping the list is the belief by some creditors that they would be paid immediately.
General creditors are entitled to dividends, and dividends are when the liquidator sells the assets and gets cash. He then looks at the amount of approved creditors. So this would be after he's sent out his call for proofs. People have put in their proofs, which are their claims to the liquidator of the company, but that's only after he sends out the call for proofs. So they put in their claims. He says, well, I accept your claim and I accept the sum that you're claiming or not. And then there are appeals to the court if the general creditor person decides that they want to appeal whatever the liquidator has told them are their rights.
Not speaking specifically to Baha Mar, Morgan Gomez explained what happens when a liquidator is called in.
The liquidator's job is to control the assets of the company and then to sell those assets or to do something else with those assets, which could include continuing the business of the company for the benefit of the general creditors. Liquidator would come in, he would review the books, he would review the assets, he would discuss with the current board of directors and other relevant parties what is going on with the company. And at that point in time, he would make certain decisions with his team of support office, usually accountants, and of lawyers as to what are the next possible steps.
The attorney admitted that in some instances, liquidation could take some time.
It depends upon the state of the company, how organized the books are, etc. The process can be anywhere from, in a voluntary liquidation with a very efficient and organized set of books, that can be anywhere from 3 to 6 months. But if it is a different type of situation where it's not as organized or there are more complexities involved, it can actually go to as long as decades.
Months after a damning Auditor General's report highlighted inefficiencies in government small homes repair program, the Deputy Prime Minister revealed today that he commissioned an independent report on the Urban Renewal Commission's program to address what he called erroneous information that was leaked from Terrence Bastian's report. Vonik Toot reports.
1 week after Prime Minister Perry Christie tabled the controversial Auditor General's report in the House of Assembly, Deputy Prime Minister Philip Davis once again questioned the accuracy of that report into the Urban Renewal Small Home Repairs Program. In fact, he said he had an independent report commissioned by experts in the construction field, and he said their findings conflicted with those in the Auditor General's report. Davis said 2 Bahamian firms were hired to conduct an independent assessment of the small home repairs program after the Auditor General said in his report it was difficult to determine if government received value for money.
This comment troubled me. And in the discharge of my duty with respect to Urban Renewal Program, I felt obliged to have this commentary investigated further to determine the extent to which value was secured for the money spent. I felt that was my duty. I was fortified in this view to do so because the audited report, of course, was done by accountants. I thought it prudent to have this statement tested, not by accountants, but rather experts in the field of construction.
Auditor General Terrence Bastian said 11 contractors were paid $171,000 as part of the program for work that was not completed or never done. However, Davis said the report completed by Island Dimensions and Development Company and J.D. Chisholm and Associates determined that of the 80 homes surveyed by the technical team, 94% of work had been completed.
When I commissioned the technical report, I directed special attention to those homes which the Auditor General's report determined had little or no work. Among all of them, the technical team determined that only 3 of them were a loss in terms of value for money. In 2 of the cases, they were unable to access homes, but they observed exterior work within the specified scopes. Yes, the technical team identified some failings. However, the findings are substantially different from those previously cited.
Davis said it is very important to address any erroneous information that may have been provided to the public as a result of the leak of the Auditor General's report. He added that officials are examining any area of underperformance and will have it remedied at no further cost to government. The Works Minister added, while nothing on earth is perfect, he has seen nothing in the Auditor General's report that will stop government from investing in the small home repairs program.
In my estimation, the first phase of the small home repairs project was a resounding success. The Urban Renewal Commission co-chairs, the Honorable Alton Allen and the Honorable Cynthia Mother Pratt, ensured that houses in most of the constituencies in New Providence that qualified for the small home repairs were repaired. They are to be commended for their commitment and impartiality in matters related to urban renewal.
In addition to impacting hundreds of Bahamians who could not afford to repair their homes by themselves, the Works Minister said the program also benefited contractors with criminal records because they deserve a second chance.
Many of the small home repairs contractors have tarnished criminal records. In fact, a few were out on bail. This government deliberately retained those who had the requisite construction skills and gave them contracts to repair houses. And they embraced the opportunities and executed repair works that have withstood keen scrutiny. Mr. Speaker, this government realizes that engaging these individuals to assist with small home repairs will cause them to refrain from stealing and other criminal activity and continue to seek gainful employment.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonik Tude.
Power Secure Chief Revenue Officer Ronnie Brainin admitted the company is in the formal research phase of understanding the problems that the Bahamas Electricity Corporation faces. The parties signed a transitional agreement during a press conference at BEC's headquarters today. According to Deputy Prime Minister Philip Davis, the transitional agreement is valued at $900,000, and government is closer to its goal to give the Bahamas 100% Bahamian-owned world-class electricity. Simone Davis has more.
When asked how Power Secure could bring down the cost of electricity and bring about reliable service, Power Secure CRO said the company is not prepared to elaborate on that because they are now trying to understand power generation and grid challenges, which often cause the island-wide blackouts and equipment failures.
Relative to your question about reliability, we're actively engaged in looking at the reliability that you currently have and what are the events that cause the outages or the disruption in service. At this time, we're not prepared to make comments about what plans of action we would take because we still are in the due diligence phase of understanding the cause of the events and how to prevent them. So at this point in time, we're really not ready to actively discuss the plan to improve it. We're still understanding what's happening and where that system's at today.
Back in June, Davis said the government would sign the transitional agreement before June 19th, allowing the company to begin managing the corporation. When asked about the delay, Davis said there were unusual issues regarding negotiations to ensure all bases were covered. He called the transitional agreement, valued at $900,000, an important step forward in reducing the cost.
With this transition services agreement now in place, Power Secure will finalize the business plan over the next 60 days, which will provide specific recommendations regarding how Power Secure plans to manage the new BEC for the next 5 years. The government has charged Power Secure with developing a plan that will create efficiencies which will allow for significant reductions in the cost of energy, increased energy security, and reliability.
However, the transitional agreement does not impact management of the corporation. Davis said the company is now in a better position to gather more data to inform their business plan, and they can now be more hands-on with the day-to-day operations to get the information needed.
Since the appointment of Power Secure as the preferred bidder that was announced in April, both PowerSecure and the government have made substantial progress in several key areas to lay the foundation for success. Specifically, PowerSecure team has been on the ground in Nassau and across the Family Islands, engaged with BEC management in extensive due diligence to gather key data that will inform their business plan.
Davis also noted that PowerSecure is expected to complete its business plan within 60 days and present it to Cabinet. Following the approval of the plan, the government will sign a management agreement with the company. All corporations and their boards expire June 30th. Davis confirmed that a new board would be appointed at the corporation by the end of this week. Brainin said the company is currently exploring different fuel sources, generators, economic dispatch based on the price of fuel mix to find ways to lower the electricity cost.
Yeah, we have been involved for quite some time. However, reliability is a broad topic. There's several things that affect reliability. It could be a generation issue. It could be a transmission distribution issue. There's a lot of different things. It could be weather. It could be lightning. There's a lot of different things that have an adverse effect on reliability.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Simone Davis.